Here.
Nancy Kupka.
Here.
Luca Plauskas.
Here.
And Caitlin Vincent.
Here.
We have a quorum. Let's stand for the pledge.
Thank you.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Student perspectives, yes. Okay, student perspectives.
All right. First, we're going to invite Jerry forward here.
Figured that was my time to stand up. So hello, everyone. On July 22nd, Downers Grove South hosted the first ever District 99 Jazz Camp. Over 40 student musicians from both North and South High School, as well as neighboring District 58, came together for a week of celebrating the history, culture, and discipline of jazz, America's classical music. World-renowned educators and performers, including the great Ron Carter, took part in this special week-long experience for our D99 student musicians, and it culminated in a community performance at the Fisher Park Band Shell. So here to present on that topic are Becca Snofer and Annie White.
Welcome.
So I'm Annie White.
And I'm Becca Snoffer.
And we both participated in the District 99 Jazz Camp over the summer. First time it happened. I'm a senior this year, so I'm super sad that it was my last year, but I'm also so glad that I got to experience it.
Tell me when to advance. I'm the clicker.
So my favorite part about Jazz Camp was that it was both North and South students. We've had jazz concerts together and like in the same spaces, but we've never really gotten to work side by side with them. So I think that was really important to kind of bring together the District 99 family.
So throughout the week, we had a big emphasis on learning the history and culture of jazz. We started out each day by dancing and kind of grooving together so that we could like feel the beat, and it sort of helped my understanding of jazz as a whole. And it was just really great to know different stepping stones that are in jazz pieces and learn about how jazz today came to be.
And then another really cool thing that was all Mr. Lowry's doing is he has some really great connections in the jazz world, including Kevin Schoenbach, who is a teacher around the area, and then Professor Ron Carter, who is an NIU professor of jazz, and we've worked with him before in clinics for concerts and such, and it's just a really valuable experience to talk to other experienced performers in the area.
Someone else we got the pleasure to meet was Leonard Simpson. He is actually one of the top 5 alto saxophone players in the world, which as an alto saxophone player was crazy to kind of be in his presence and learn about him. So we actually got to spend a lunch with him and just ask him questions, and he told us about his journeys and what it's taken him to get to where he is, and it was like it was crazy. It was an amazing experience that I truly will never forget. But like throughout this jazz camp, like Becca was saying, we got to meet like so many great people, which I think made it so cool to see different people that aren't just within our district.
And then our final performance was really cool. It was outside and it was a beautiful day with a bit of rain that overpassed once we started playing. And it was really cool to play at the Fisher Park Shell because it's downtown Downers, so it's kind of like common ground and public, so a ton of people came and just got to sit on the grass, and it wasn't as formal. We all got to like hang out and talk, and it was just a really cool experience to play like that. And yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right.
Will you play alto sax? What do you play?
I play tenor sax and clarinet.
Very cool. And are both or either of you going to continue on with your music? Or?
Oh, for sure, definitely.
Excellent.
One or the other, definitely.
Good.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation.
I have One more for you. On Friday, September 16th, the Mustangs hosted our homecoming football game versus Willowbrook High School. It was the most attended football game of the year, and 11 student leaders chose to stay after the game ended, and they helped our CMG staff clean up the entire stadium.
Yeah.
We'd like to recognize them for demonstrating the Mustang way and ask them to share why they chose to help our CMG staff. So as presenting will be Lindsey Bourne and Nick Koch.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Bourne.
And I'm Nick Koch. Like Mr. Lowry said, we had our big homecoming football game against Willowbrook. And like at any sporting event, after the game, there's a lot of stuff left behind, I'm sure. Some of us in this room, I know I'm guilty of it myself, of maybe just leaving something somewhere and not thinking about it. So what we decided is we were going to help our CMG staff clean that up after the game so that they didn't have as much to worry about. So like he said, I think we did it the first week against Glenbard West, and it was only a couple of us. And then we just kept doing it. We did it against Willowbrook, and we did it against Addison Trail. And every time more and more people started to join in. So I think that's just a big example of how being a positive role model can help lead others by example.
Yeah, and we're both members of the GGS Superfans Club and also student section leaders. And it's our job to kind of create a positive game day experience for everyone involved. So we're going to continue to do this even after football season. I think we only have one more home game. But also with basketball season and volleyball season, just by helping to clean up, because when all of us do it, it's really not that big of a deal compared to having only a few staff help out. So, thank you.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else?
Thanks for setting a great example
Example.
for
So
everybody.
you've done this 3 weeks in a row?
I think, yeah.
So did you notice any sort of decrease in the amount of stuff you had to pick up? Not yet.
I mean, there was more hands to help clean it up.
Well,
So maybe,
sure.
maybe,
Okay.
maybe
All right.
initially, individually, I'm picking up less, but
Yeah.
it was still a lot, yeah.
Well, hopefully. I mean, people, other students see you working at this, and you're less likely to leave something behind when when you're conscious of it. And it's your space, right? I mean, it's so taking ownership of it is really cool. So thank
That was
you.
a big thing.
Yeah.
Like the new facilities, we want
Yeah.
to make sure we're
Right.
keeping good care of them.
Right. So well done.
Yeah. Did you guys organize it, or did people just organically come down to help you?
I think it just started off by some people just seeing trash and picking it up, and then as the games went on, more people decided to stay back. So I think it's become a more normalized thing just for everyone to pick up their own trash after the games.
Cool.
So
Win-win.
that's really a good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing, yeah.
I think in Japan, they make you take.
Well, thank you for setting
Thank
the
you.
example.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Student board members.
Nope. First Grove Express
Oh, I'm sorry.
Foundation
I'm
junior
sorry.
board members.
I went down the
I'm going to
line.
invite Don and Nicole forward.
Sorry for the slight.
Good evening, members of the board, other district personnel that are here tonight. It is with pleasure that I present to you the inaugural Grove Express Foundation Junior Board. I'm going to tell you something that you probably already know, which is that District 99 students are the best of the best. It is with this in mind that we wanted to create an opportunity for students who are direct recipients of some of the funds raised at the Grove Express Foundation Thanksgiving Day race, give them the opportunity to be in a leadership position and continue to hone in on their leadership skills and also gain experiences with our organization that they can carry on post-high school. The group that you see before me were 6 of 13 applicants who had to go through an application and interview process. We did not intend for this board to be girl power, but here we are. They are an amazing group of young women, and it has been such a pleasure to work with them and beside them. I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you and then tell you a little bit about what they have been doing with our organization thus far.
Good evening. I'd first like to thank you all for being here today and taking time out of your night. My name is Sarah Ryan.
My name is Lola Bogwell.
We are members of the sponsorship committee for the Grove Express. So far, we've been working on filling out a master spreadsheet to ensure that our organization's data is top-notch. Additionally, we are hoping to gather many sponsors from past races as well as gain new sponsors for this year's race to ensure that we have enough revenue to provide for any race day activities that we have. We know that as a Downers Grove community, we are very strong together, and just being involved in activities such as the Grove Express 5K really brings us together as a community.
Along with the sponsorship committee, I'm also a part of the merchandise committee. So on behalf of the merchandise committee, our goal is to build and run an online storefront where people can purchase a wide range of Grove Express branded apparel. All merchandise sold from the web store would add to our overall profits, which then is given back to the community. And touching back on the sponsorship committee, we hope to have as many people and local businesses involved as possible. We encourage those able to support us and our mission by sponsoring and donating, but understand that not everyone has that same ability. So other ways to help raise awareness for our race are, but not limited to, placing flyers around your place of work or just around the Downers Grove, and also putting a yard sign in your yard. We deeply appreciate any act of support that the citizens of Downers Grove have to offer. Thank you all for your time, and I will see you all at the race.
All right, hi, my name is Meda Kuzminskas. I'm here at DJS, and I'm part of the Race Day Committee. I have a friend that's not with me today that's also part of the Race Day Committee, and that's Itzelruiz Flores. Basically, Race Day Committee is pretty straightforward. We're in charge of anything involved with the actual race day. Of course, it's in a future date, so right now there's not really a definite thing that we can be like presenting and doing right now. But we know that as race day comes, we have multiple things that we're going to be working on, like organizing volunteers and also communication between volunteers and other people. Along with that, it's also make sure that the area that the race day is going to be happening is all safe and patrolled. We're also going to be in charge of setting up and also closing down and also just clean up in general. Any other things like organizing papers and just answering any of the participants' questions is also one of our priorities. And of course, just handling all of the communications within race day, and also just making sure that it all like goes smoothly and we're taking care of signage and everything like that.
Wow.
So yeah.
All right, hello, my name is Addie Potter. I'm Gina Lou. And we are both on the PR and marketing committee for the Grove Express Foundation. In these committees, we are marketing through social media, through the high schools, and through Downers Grove itself, through the community, through small businesses, etc. We will be on many social media sites, such as Facebook and Instagram, as well as on video announcements and other types of announcements throughout the high schools, because marketing to the high schools, not only just the community, but marketing to the high schools is a great way to get volunteers and participants, because high schoolers love to participate. We will also be sharing posters, signs, etc., and other ways to let students know to get involved, as well as other members of the community.
And going on with the social media aspect, we will be using things like hashtags or giveaways to kind of create a community for the Grove Express online. And another idea we have to incorporate through the high schools is having some sort of competition or like event for students to get involved and encourage more participation, such as having the school sports teams compete with how many can get more participation in their members, or having clubs volunteer on race day.
Cool.
So as Addie touched on just then, as junior board members for the Grove Express Foundation, part of our responsibility is to raise awareness and involvement in our school community. So Addie, Gina, and I are all students at Downers Grove North, and we've come up with several ideas of how we will take action to encourage our peers to sign up for the race and volunteer opportunities. To start, we plan to advertise the Grove Express on our daily morning announcements. As you all probably know, these announcements are broadcasted daily every morning across the entire school. And we also had an idea to have a feature in the weekly brain break videos. These videos are pre-recorded and shared with students and staff via classroom monitors on block schedule days. And we intend to direct and film a skit, which will then be featured in the video.
We also plan to put up posters around DGN and online, possibly through various DGN accounts from different sports, clubs, etc., or just the DGN account itself. The posters will have information for both volunteer and participants, as well as information on how to sign up. They will be posted around the school and be advertised throughout different activities at DGN.
And finally, we also wanted a physical space for students to kind of
get more information about the Grove Express and also how to participate or volunteer. So we're wanting to set up a very easily accessible area for students to find more information and how to sign up.
All right, since I'm a part of DGS and so is Sarah, we have the DHES side of things, and since the schools are both under District 99, we're pretty much having the similar ideas right over here. Some of the differences we might have is that we can contact Ms. Martinez, so we can ask her about any other options for advertising are. We have TVs within the Commons and everywhere else that we can always advertise slides on the about the Grove Express race, and we also just have more like school-related social media and also social medias connecting to our sports teams. We also thought that even getting sports teams to maybe be volunteering for the race might also help, like cross-country and stuff like that. We obviously, like probably DGN, we also have volunteer clubs like Key Club, ACE, and other clubs like that, so we'll definitely be contacting them as well. I myself am a part of the blueprint for South, so I'll also be able to write an article and feature the race too, so that'll help boost a little bit of publicity. Also just like the social media page and just like stuff like that. We think that as like a junior myself going to high school, we have the added benefit of knowing our audience. And so I feel like using social media as a target and just announcing and advertising within the school will probably be the best and most effective way we can get either volunteers or participants. We were also thinking, now this is a very loose idea, of course, but we were thinking of maybe either doing a raffle or something like that for people who either sign up to volunteer or participate, and that'll definitely boost people that want to sign up.
Additionally, some further ideas we have are to make a little friendly rivalry between our friends at DGN and DGS, just to get participation going, and as always, we love a good competition between the schools. Thanks. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I can tell you that at North, the girls' swim team is already coming together as a group to participate that day. So maybe you want to look at them.
Some of my friends can ask them about that.
Yeah. So.
I wonder if there's a way to create a friendly rivalry between O'Neill and Herrick in a similar sort of fashion, get some of those students involved as well, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea. We actually haven't thought about that yet, but that's definitely a target like age group that we want involved in the race. So we'll definitely work on that too. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Especially because they're going to be like the next generation
That's right.
of high schoolers. So it'd be great to have them involved as well.
Don't forget Jefferson.
Oh, yes, Jefferson. I was in town, so yeah. Jefferson as well.
Any other questions?
Yeah, if somebody in the community wanted to put up a sign or make a contribution, would they just go through the Bonfield site or? Are you,
That Bonfield.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's the
Sorry.
Grove Express.
The Grove Express, excuse me. I stand corrected twice now. We've only been here 15 minutes. Through the Grove Express website, or is there going to be one on our website, or how is it
It'll
gonna
be on the Grove Express.
It'll be on the Grove Express, okay.
Yeah, I can answer that. So yes, through the website, there are volunteer opportunities, and there's a way of communicating with us and asking for yard signs. We'll be doing a social media campaign as well to get individuals signed up for those who want to provide yard signs throughout the community. And if I can just provide a shameless plug, hi, I'm Don Renner. I'm president of the Grove Express Foundation. We took over the Bonfield last year, and this year we formed a 501c3 organization. It was originally the organization that came together from Rotary, from the 58 Foundation, and Roadrunner Soccer Club in Downers Grove, which I'm a part of. But it was so successful last year, and we all got along really well, that we decided to form a new 501c3. And last year, think about it, one day, one race, we raised almost $120,000. Wow. It's like 45 minutes. $120,000. And Rotary gave close to $40,000 in scholarships to D99 students, and Roadrunners gave another $13,000 to T99. And I worked with Scott Lugazer closely to get specific needs addressed at T99. So we're really proud of what we did last year. We're going to blow them out of the water this year, performance-wise. So we're really happy. I'm going to leave a couple of these posters here behind with Hank. And go ahead and visit groveexpress.com. You'll sign up and register. And that's my shameless plug, but hopefully we'll see all of you out on race day on Thanksgiving Day. Thanks for having us.
Quick question. You mentioned that, did I get it right, that you brought all the groups together to form the 501c3? Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Pretty great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your support last year. Good job. All right, now our student board members. Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, so I'll start off. So the last meeting I gave a report on was homecoming week. So I just wanted to touch a little bit about how homecoming week went. We had a really awesome week with lots of activities. We had Joe Diamond during like one of our resource, which he was really cool to watch. We had a really good homecoming assembly, just watching different performances from our cheer team and dance team, as well as like individual students who got the opportunity to perform in front of the school, which was a really like unifying moment, just celebrating being a Mustang. Our homecoming dance was really fun. It was again out on the turf, so it provided students a lot of space if they didn't necessarily want to be in the middle of the mosh pit. There was also arcade games and a photo booth, so a lot of different things for students, and it was a really fun night. Looking forward, we've kind of, again, just settled into a groove with access and resource periods. We now know where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be. We just had our first week of student autonomy days, so we could go anywhere that we wanted in the school, and that was really nice just to have that individual freedom to use the time however you want. Personally, I was in the commons with my friends, but I know a lot of people went to the library and got some studying or homework done. So it was just nice to have that time to yourself and do whatever you thought it would be best for you to do in that time. Resource also changed so that there are programs available during it, but you're not necessarily forced to attend them. So it's nice to know that if you do need these programs, that you have access to them during a specific time. But if you don't need to listen to the presentations, then you can just do other work, which is nice, again, to have that choice of how you're going to spend your time. Our Principal Student Advisory Council, I'm not personally on it, but my brother is, and so he was telling me about it, and they noticed that trash in the commons was a big issue in our school, but they fixed that by putting little posters on the table, like clean up your space, and adding additional garbage cans. And they said that the trash has gone down a lot, so just having student involvement in fixing an issue and keeping good care of our commons, because they're great. And we also kept the cannon. We versed our rivals, Hinsdale South, and we won and kept the cannon, which was a really good school spirit moment for South. That's a big game. And just one thing that students and teachers have kind of had problems with lately is just our Wi-Fi issues. I know that this last week we had it shut down for a few days to try and fix the issue. So we appreciate the effort in going into fixing it. It just sometimes is a little aggravating for teachers and students when our Chromebooks aren't working or smartboard problems. So just looking forward, figuring out that problem would make learning and teaching, I'm sure, a lot easier. So we're excited. We have Red Ribbon Week coming up with drug and alcohol-free lifestyle presentations. So we're excited for that and looking forward to our last home game this week, which is pink out. So it'll be a good time.
So there were definitely a lot of positives in the last 3 or so weeks, and once again starting off like Caitlin with homecoming, because that's what was the whole gist of the last report we had given. There was a large amount of students that came out this year. I know that after COVID it was difficult for students to believe that it would be okay to be in a crowd so big, and maybe with the heat and everything going around, but this year it was amazing because once again we were outside on the turf, and it was a great area, and the amazing students and staff helped us decorate for our theme Under the Stars, and it was definitely a sight to see. Not only was it beautiful, but the weather was perfect up until the end when it started to drizzle. But up until then, it was amazing because the fireworks show worked out, and overall, it was amazing. And the school also provided LED sticks for every student in the school who was there. So it was also a great way to get all the students involved during the dance and just be able to enjoy themselves and be able to hang out with their friends. And then also with another activity, last Friday was our last home game for football, and that's sad because obviously I'm a senior, but the weather was not so great. It was pouring and it was very cold, but we still had a great win against OPRF, and there was a large amount of students who came even with the weather, which shows just how much school spirit we all have and how much we all want to support our team and come out and cheer no matter the circumstances. And we had the band, the cheerleaders, and Athenas. We had all the performances. It was amazing. We all came together and we were able to shout, and it was just a wonderful sight also. And then what's going on in the school is that we continue to spread our school spirit, because that's what we're all about, and we keep wearing our all-in shirts, which is what we keep showing to the community as to who we are and what we believe in. And also last week, following Red Ribbon Week, we do an annual No One Walks Alone. So different groups, different clubs, different sports came out and walked just to show their support for Red Ribbon Week. And then also DGN is very into embodying the sense of leadership into students and taking action in the school. And by doing Greater Cause, we're able to show what each student is able to achieve during our school year. And also by school spirit, we've also done a daily happy birthday slide. So on the announcements, we're able to recognize every student, no matter if they like their birthday or not. But we say happy birthday to them. And so teachers and their peers are able to say happy birthday and make them cheer up in a sense. So in all, Downers Grove North is developing a positive environment and is trying to include all their students. And it's going to be amazing to see the growth that we have in a few months.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for student board members?
Okay.
Those Wi-Fi problems getting better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a whole team of experts in, and then it was a couple of access, like 2 weeks ago at the access periods where things got really rough, and then we brought in a whole bunch of consultants, and then we had another access with the same type of activity, and it seems to have been corrected.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it for the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And on that note, we need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2022 business meeting and the September 19th, 2022 closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Terry and Mike?
Thank you.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. The minutes are approved. Do we have anybody for the first?
Yeah, we have some forms. I don't know if they're for the first or the second, though.
Well, I'll start while you look. The meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. The first, reception of visitors, is intended for audience members to address the board without any agenda item, on which the board will vote. The second, reception of visitors, is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes to provide all visitors an equal opportunity to address the board. Individuals needing more time should submit their thoughts in writing to the board secretary. Visitors addressing the board need to submit a comment slip to the board secretary and will be invited to the microphone. Do we
We
any?
have 5 slips.
Okay. Prior to addressing the board, audience members should state their full name. The proceedings are being tape recorded for the purpose of producing accurate meeting minutes, and these are being streamed out. I, the board's presiding officer, reserve the right to modify these protocols if circumstances warrant. Audience observation of these protocols is appreciated.
All right. First speaker is Rich Brennan.
Hi, I'm Rich Brennan, a Downers Grove taxpayer. And I really like the Open Meetings Act part where it says that the school business is the people's business. It's my favorite part. Comments today on the press policy changes. At D99's board meeting on September 19, the board introduced another batch update of board and school policies, this time 18 of them. It was the first reading of the policies and admin regulations 8.20 AR1 and 8.20 AR2, and deletion of 4.120 for food service. The 18 policies proposed to be amended were shown on the screen, but there was no explanation for the reason, the background for all these changes. Tonight, you'll vote on those changes. Is this proper notification without quite enough background for us, the people? On September 19, Mike Davenport said it was a lot of housekeeping things and a few other things that his committee worked on. Everything was recommended by press, except for 8.20 use of school facilities. He said the goal was to put policies in line with press. Heck at it, 8.20 is our own customized policy to align with some old policy practices. If most of the current policy changes are being prepared by press, where's the local control and decision making? What happened to the community review and approval? The business of the schools belongs to the people. The original purpose for the first reading was to provide that initial information to us and propose changes to obtain community input and approval of those changes. The last big batch of policy updates was approved at the May 16 meeting. Unanimous vote approved 44 policy changes in one fell swoop. The first reading occurred at the previous workshop meeting, not the business meeting. So it seems that it sort of circumvented the purpose of getting full disclosure to us. The changes made to all 44 policies were once again drafted by press. 2.120 board meeting member development adds trauma-informed practices. School 2.220 school board meeting procedures to add Robert's Rules of Order. 4.60 purchases and contracts puts the superintendent in charge of all purchases and contracts. It looks like to me like there isn't enough transparency. What is press? Why is press? It seems like press is feeding policy to the school board instead of the school board using that expertise to form your policies. Superintendent's supposed to suggest policy changes and obtain input, right? Residents and taxpayers feel like we're not quite well enough informed. I'm sure it couldn't be that the ISBE, IASB, and school district boards don't want public to know. Thanks.
Next speaker is Laura Hoyce.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Laura Hoyce of Downers Grove. This concerns the public's request for policy changes. That is our requests. District 99's own board policy 2.240 directs the superintendent, not press, to develop and publish appropriate administrative regulations, also known as D99 board policies. Okay, we the people propose these changes to press's proposed policy revisions. Policy number 2.230, public participation at school board meetings. Delete the language relating to directives of the board president to preserve a speaker's constitutional rights. Policy 3.10, goals and objectives. We object to item 2, which provides for student mastery of Illinois learning standards when some of these are exactly the same as the national sex education standards. Policy 4.165, awareness and prevention of child abuse and grooming behaviors. We say eliminate the entire policy by opting out of the national sex ed standards. District 99 has opted in over our objections. We again ask D99 to opt out of the NSES. If students are not subjected to inappropriate sexual teachings at school, there will be much less risk of child sexual abuse and grooming behaviors around schools, and less need to report child sexual abuse and grooming to the authorities under Policy 6.60. Why does the state promote sexualization of children? There's big money in it. We are not interested in having our children adopt new pronouns. We do not want our children to be subjected to how to do sex many ways lessons. We do not want to let you steal our children's innocence. We want District 99 to support pro-American, pro-freedom ideals. And we want District 99 to allow conservative student groups and activities at school. Illinois law currently stops sex offenders and child abusers from teaching children. But if Amendment 1, which will be the first item on the ballot, is approved on November 8th, unions can void the laws that protect children. A lot of people don't realize this. We've had enough. We ask you to postpone the vote on policy amendments until the board members have had an opportunity to fully consider our comments and requested changes to the policies. Thank you.
Marcella Charoux. Sherrill.
My name is Marcella Durdick-Sherray. I'm a 26-year district resident. The Illinois Association of School Boards, an Illinois nonprofit, provides pamphlets about school governance and the role of the school board. The IASB seeks to educate local board candidates with mandatory training, but does IASB prepare all types of candidates, including conservatives, for school board? They state on their website that while times have changed, the function of school boards today remains the same, to provide local citizen control over public education. But batch policy changes means there is no local citizen control. At DGN and DGS, we see indoctrination toward anti-racist ideology, sexualization, and gender influencing. This is the state's agenda, not the parents' agenda. We want our kids to be properly educated, not indoctrinated. IASB says the Board of Education studies the needs of students and the community, bases its decisions on those needs, and the superintendent carries out the decisions. Press makes the superintendent's job easier by preparing most of the policy changes. When does the board consult with members of the community on policy decisions? When do the parents get to provide input in advance regarding school curriculum? When do parents get to object to the focus on equity and social emotional learning? What are the district's policies regarding informing parents of their child's gender transition? When will the district disclose its active anti-racist policies to parents of white children? Here are the cold hard facts. Policy decisions are being made en masse in accordance with press dictates. School policies are being revised uniformly in Illinois across all school districts. Most parents do not know this is happening. It is your responsibility to tell them.
Eileen Briner.
Good evening. Eileen Briner, Downers Grove resident. The public's request for policy changes, Board Policy 7.21 regarding students. This policy says District 99 does not discriminate in any of its programs or activities on the basis of actual or perceived race, color, or national origin. But lessons about white supremacy and anti-racism are being taught in class to students here. Doesn't allegations of white supremacy and oppression discriminate against some students? Policy 7.21 also says District 99 is dedicated to creating a safe and welcoming environment for all students, staff, and visitors. It directs students to report anonymous concerns through Safe to Help Illinois anonymous alerts. Students are told to submit an alert to Safe to Help Illinois via website, text, phone, app, or email to receive a response from a trained Safe to Help crisis professional available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Note, no parent is involved in this activity. We object to D99's direct referral to students to Safe to Help without parents' knowledge or consent. D99 signed on to Safe to Help without advance notice or information provided to parents. As far as we're concerned, there's no trusted adult at a state agency. When parents aren't told, these people are talking to anonymous people, not safe. We ask you to postpone the vote on policy amendments until the board members have had an opportunity to fully consider our comments and concerns regarding these changes.
Ryan Sewell.
Good evening. My name is Brian Sewell. I'm a resident of Downers Grove and a taxpayer into District 99. This is also regarding the press policy changes.
Speaking to the mic.
Thank you. It appears the board or committees are rubber stamping suggested IASB policy recommendations without adequate public discussion. I believe there were 18 policies with no discussion, reason for change, or public comment prior to tonight's meeting that were changed or about to be changed. The board described it as housekeeping, and overtly stated that the goal was to align DG99 policies with press and the IASB. I'm just a simple layman in these matters, but do we not have an elected school board to critically evaluate policy changes and not just rubber stamp a non-elected state board's recommendation? As context, the IASB was a paid member of the National School Board Association, which was the school board association which lobbied the FBI to investigate parents who spoke out at school board meetings. Why should we rubber stamp policies which IASB recommends? IASB also recommends in its Statement of Beliefs number 14 that students should be allowed to turn in assignments late with credit, or Statement of Belief 13 that are the principles in equity of inclusion should be incorporated in curriculum and operations. If Illinois, or even the Downers Grove, was an educational powerhouse returning spectacular results, perhaps many would turn a blind eye and just assume that the means justified the ends. But that's not the case. I've got the SAT results here for the district, and 46% and 47% respectively in math and ELA are not meeting the required standards. So we can self-congratulate ourselves and give awards every board meeting, but the facts are the facts here. We've got some problems in this state. It seems like the case is that there, particularly in Illinois, that there's a groupthink among anyone involved in public education. It seems to be endemic. Policy goes from think tank to state board or state level associations, and then on to the board where the rubber stamp is affixed. It's all good. We all agree. The school board that simply adopts state industry associations' recommendations is derelict. A local board is the only control that parents have over public education, a bulwark, if you will. The public deserves the opportunity to learn about these changes and have comment. We want we demand effective board oversight and transparency. The Go Along, Get Along board is not an effective board, and we're going to need a little more than that. Thank you.
Is the last public speaker?
Okay, can I just clarify something?
I would like to correct the record before we go forward.
Okay.
Board policies follow a very specific process and go through a board policy committee, of which the meetings are public meetings. They are posted in advance with an agenda. At those meetings, the administration, which has met in advance of those meetings and has reviewed the recommendations for press, sit with the policy committee, discuss the rationale for the changes, whether or not we will adopt those changes or modify them, have lots of discussion and sometimes debate over those changes before the policy committee comes to a decision whether or not to advance those to the full board or not. When they go to the full board, they are posted for the community in advance with revisions so that the community in advance of that first reading has the ability to see what the board will be recommended. The board has received all of that information well in advance of that public meeting. Then they are on review for at least several weeks, sometimes an entire month, before they come to the entire board, at which time board members can reach out to any member of the policy committee or the administration to accept revisions or recommendations. Sometimes then we come back and discuss that policy in depth as a full board. Sometimes it's the policy committee received that and the administration is recommending making that change that's happened over the last month. Many of the policies that come, not all, are brought up by press. Press is a service from the Illinois Association of School Boards that we pay for that takes a look at the policies that are out there and the laws that have been passed and determines whether or not they are recommended or required because of changes in law updates to board policies. We pay for that service because for me to review all of that with the board's attorneys would consume a lot of time and could leave room for error. The fact is that there's a wide variety of school attorneys across the state that work with the Illinois Association of School Boards to revise and update those policies. We pay for that service. Collectively, school districts across the state are paying for that service in a cost-sharing way in order to make the cost of keeping track of law cost-effective for local communities. Otherwise, every one of our policy committee meetings would be exceedingly expensive in the attorney review leading up to that meeting. Now, there are other times when we look at certain press policies that come along as an administration, and there are sometimes recommended changes, optional changes, or changes that we don't believe that are necessarily tied to law, but are recommendations in practice, that then we do evaluate, discuss with the board's attorneys before taking that to the policy committee. This allows us to keep current with law and to make sure we are effectively and efficiently updating our policies. There are a good number of policies that are District 99 policies, that the policy committee has a schedule established for periodic review of those policies that are our own. Any community member could ask the policy committee to review a policy, and then it would be up to that policy committee to reevaluate that policy. That doesn't mean that it will be reviewed. It doesn't mean that changes will be accepted, but the policy committee has the option of discussing those at that time. And there are times where the policy committee or board members as a whole recommend policies for review at that committee. Once again, they are discussed at the policy committee, come at first reading, they are posted as public documents with revision, they are there for a month, then they come back for second revision. I report to the board on any suggestions or changes that happen in that month period of time. We'll do that tonight. I have received nothing before this evening, even though they've been public for quite a while,
Close to a month.
about changes that should be made in those policies. They'll come back later this evening, but I wanted to put on the record the process that we follow. Nobody rubber stamps policies here. The administration reviews these policies in detail here. There are many hours that go into board policy and plenty of public oversight over those processes. Now, if there are anything else you'd like for me to address, I'd be happy to do so.
I was just going to add, which you so eloquently did, but again, they are posted for public comment. They're open for public comment. All the revisions are on there for both readings.
And I signed out and checked in to make sure for the last meeting that they were all visible to the public through board docs, and they are all there.
I know staff can probably attest to this, but I mean, over the years that I've served on policy committee, I think you know how much time I spend reading everything and frequently come to those meetings with several comments and questions. And by the time it comes to here for first reading, any of those questions or comments that I've had, as well as any that other board members, Sherelle being the other one with me right now, those things are incorporated so that when you're getting that first reading, there's already been, right. Yes. And then we still have yet another month to hear from people, but, it's unfortunate that some people perceive this as a rubber stamp sort of thing, because it means that I couldn't tally all the hours I've spent reading all these policies. And it's actually been a huge work, as Nancy will attest, since we've joined the board to straighten out the policies. And it's, to have policies that aren't consistent with regular standards of care would put this district at considerable liability and risk, being on an island. So you want to make sure that the things that you're adopting, that there's consensus statewide, and I think we've done great work in that regard. And we continue, to demonstrate that in terms of the fact you mentioned that we have policies that press hasn't adopted. They're our own policies, and we have a regular schedule by which we're making sure that we're looking at those too.
We looked at them and we
Right.
talk about them.
Right. Just to make sure that we're not forgetting to go over those things that we need to look at. And, as we read those press updates, not only am I reading the updates, but I'm reading the existing policy too. And sometimes we've had little corrections. I've caught things that our attorneys caught that said, hey, we need to take care of this because press isn't up to date yet on that. So this board's done an excellent job as far as I'm concerned with.
And in addition to the two members of the committee, I'm sorry, Sherelle.
No, you go ahead.
In addition to the two members of the committee, it is the expectation that every board member read, prior to voting, all of the materials. And it is not an infrequent occurrence that we see questions going back and forth, a question here, a question there, or even a point of clarification. Again, the suggestion that it's a rubber stamp is not.
There have been
accurate
some really
suggestion.
large, there's been a few large groupings of
Yeah.
changes that have, and this is really attributable to COVID. The lack of keeping up with things as much as we'd like, maybe for not us, but the state and people.
A lot of legislation. too.
Overall. So there were more than normal changes.
The
in
Illinois
last-
school code is more than, or almost doubled in size in 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun.
There's a lot of legislation around schools that has been passed, and in the legislative session, not the last year, but the year before, it was extensive, the number of school-related pieces of legislation that passed.
In pieces of legislation, so unfunded or not, some of these things are policy we have to adopt. It's been mandated that we must adopt them. So, so we're up against that as well, and sometimes that's a little frustrating. So, I get that, if you haven't been following along with us for a long period of time, and you show up at the meetings, and it can appear that we're just, saying okay to things, when in fact there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and the meetings, as you say, are open, and we publish all this stuff online, and it's all very, very transparent.
And we do a lot of work at every one of our meetings, board workshops, board meetings. The only difference between those two meetings is a board meeting, there is action, but there's a good amount of board business conducted at workshops and at meetings and at policy committee meetings. So this isn't, not any one meeting is more important than the previous one.
But I do want to, just a
Sherelle
second,
had a
because
point, though.
we've stepped on Cherylle's words.
I just wanted to add, in the previous packet prior to this one, there was multiple hours spent
Yes.
reviewing that, because it was a huge packet. And sometimes, to my point, you're reading this, and it requires even a second read or a third read of one policy, just to ensure that we're giving it the due diligence that it needs. So I am excited, I'm glad to be a volunteer here, but I also want to make the point of the work that we put in to be a volunteer here in the community as taxpayers, as we all have stated tonight, so.
Well, I just want to say, I can't tell you the number of times that we've looked at policies and, in fact, waited another month to vote on
Yes.
them, because we've had questions, we talk about it, and gives the policy committee time to look at it again, to iron it out so that it is the way we want it to be. And to think that we rubber stamp this is, to me, appalling. So that's just my personal opinion, so, for what it's worth. It's appalling.
All right.
Okay, moving on to the recommendations and reports of the superintendent, the 2023 medical, dental, and vision plan.
No,
gosh.
I've got some, it's not on there. This
something
is
else
all a
that's fun
surprise.
tonight.
So a few bits of good news and awards. Our own Julie Nidek was recognized For the Holly Jack Outstanding Service Award, this recognizes school board secretaries that have provided extraordinary work and service to their communities, which we know Julie has for a very long time. And as much as she wanted to go in and delete this slide out of the presentation, I felt that it was important to recognize. And then at the upcoming joint annual conference in November, there will be a special award ceremony for Julie. So we'll send out those details to the board so we can all be there to celebrate with Julie on this well-earned recognition.
Thank you for all the work that you
Did
have.
you do?
Thank you.
Also, District 99 and White and Company are being recognized for the highest level award of distinction in architecture for our master facility plan project. So it is, I have been informed by White that it is very rare for a project of this size to receive this award. These are, because it's such a high bar to receive the award of distinction, most school districts will piecemeal out the different parts of the project. So most school districts like us would do the commons as one application, and then the auditorium as one, and and through all the pieces of the project, hoping that one of those would meet the bar. If you submit it all like this and you don't get it, you're done. Like, you get one shot for the projects. So it's kind of bold in the approach of going after the highest award for the entire project. But I think it shows the level of work that we provided for our community throughout that entire project from beginning to end. So this will be a featured project. There is a exhibition throughout the entire conference where people can walk through and see examples of these different projects, and ours will be highlighted at various points throughout the conference.
Congratulations.
The number of hours that our staff and that put in to the input for these projects have to be recognized too, because they put extra hours in, in all the committees and all the work that was done. And I just want to say thank you to all of them, because this wouldn't have happened without all of their input. And so it comes down to, we have a fabulous staff. And
Very true.
That means a lot for our students and for our community. So thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Terry. We had over 300 staff members that volunteered their time, but we also had dozens of students that served on a variety of different committees, and dozens of community members that served as, one was in the room tonight, Don Renner, who served on the core committee, which was a lot of hours that Mike and Don served on that committee. So
thank you all. Thank you all.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you all, but when we passed the referendum, when the community said yes, and that first time walking past all the exhibition at the III conference in November, I remember looking and thinking, boy, this would be really great if now we're up here in another 4 or 5 years or so, and now it's happened. So it's really a cause for celebration for the entire community. It says a lot about District 99
Yep.
and how we can come together as a team to get great things done. So.
And then my final recognition for the night is we are in Illinois Principals Week. Arwen and Courtney aren't here tonight because they're at IPA, the Illinois Principals Association Conference, the next couple of days. The board and I recognized our building leaders today with a small gift that we provided them. But a huge thank you to all of our building leaders that give lots of hours and time and dedication to leading our staff and students at each of the 2 schools. All right, now,
Any other surprises?
that's it. That's it for surprises. All right, this is the time of the year where we come to the board with medical, dental, and vision plan and premium changes. I know this is what you all look forward to every year.
With bated breath.
Interesting reading, just the same.
These recommendations come from the Insurance Committee. A reminder that that committee is made up of representatives from all of our different employee groups across the district, as well as HUB, which is the company that is our insurance consultants that look at what's out on the market and work in our best interest around plan changes and redesigns. For the past several years, we have been working with the insurance company, or the insurance consultants hub, on a challenge that our different PPO plans, and we had several of them, were cost effective as a whole, but were not balanced within those individual plans. So at various times, one plan would be offsetting the costs of other plans. And a while ago, there was some more significant differences in benefits between the plans. Over the last several years, knowing that we were balanced in the whole, but not across the different plans, we started working to make changes to bring them more in line, which ended up causing Plan A and Plan B to become more and more similar in their benefits over time. As a result, A and B are not that much dissimilar. I'll show you a slide in a second that shows you the key differences between the two. But we're at the point where between premium increases next year and then the inherent costs within Plan A, that combining it with B actually ends up being the cost-effective move for those in A. So we're recommending collapsing A and B into one plan, keeping the benefits in Plan B. Those in Plan A will see a slight decrease in premiums. Those in Plan B will see a slight increase in premiums. But across this will balance out those two plans into one standard PPO plan. As the board is aware, a year ago we added a PPO plan. Has similar benefits to the PPOB, but has a health savings account, so a higher deductible plan with a health savings account. So moving forward, we recommend, and there's also a bronze plan that's out there. We're recommending collapsing all of the PPOs into two options. A standard PPO, which is a low deductible, higher premium plan, and the PPO with an HSA, which is lower premium, higher deductible, but has an HSA to help offset that deductible plan. So that, and then we'll spend the next several months through open enrollment explaining the actual details behind this, the advantages, disadvantages. I know some of our higher users of our insurance plans will need to sit down with one-on-one to walk them through what the best option and choice is for them moving forward. But the insurance committee has been leading us in this direction with our consultants' recommendations over the last several years. We believe that this year is the time to make that final step going into this. This was strongly considered last year, but the fact that we were still experiencing the pandemic at a high rate at that point made us cautious about changing anything related to insurance in an ongoing pandemic. We feel at this point it's the right change to make at the right time. So that's the summary of the changes. Questions about the overview that I just provided? I know I shared with the board the same memo that went to the staff, so this provided a lot of that same information. So this would be the premiums that the board would be approving tonight. The PPO increases, as I said, are a slight decrease from PPO-A. They're about a 10% increase from PPO-B, so they kind of fall in the middle of those two plans. The The PPO with the HSA is about similar rates as what they are this year. Am I correct, Jerry, in that? And the HMO is a 9% increase, but the HMO isn't a managed plan. That's managed by Blue Cross Blue Shield. So those increases aren't at our discretion. What the HR department, Jerry, myself are all working on is starting to get ready for open enrollment next month, is putting together a crosswalk for every employee. So like if I'm on this plan now and I select this plan, next year your premium will increase or decrease by this amount, your deductible will decrease, your total out of pocket will decrease by this amount to make it. And remember, for each of the employee groups, that could be somewhat different based on how contracts are negotiated, so that everybody can kind of get the big general overview of if I step from this to this, this will be my experience. Finally, this kind of shows what will happen from going from A to the standard. That's the biggest change overall. The PPO with the HSA, those benefits remain the same from last year to this year. The standard PPO is the benefits that were inside of B last year. So standard PPO is the same benefits as B. Going from, if somebody's in PPO A and then goes to the standard PPO, their employee deductible for employee only will increase by $250. For family or employee plus one, anywhere where it says family here, it's the same for employee plus one. Will increase by $750 a year. Total out of pocket increases for an employee, $750, so employee only, family or employee plus one by $2,250. Those changes, if you factored in the premium increases that would have happened in A, if we maintained A, if you factor those in, they would, and the deduction in premium of going from A to the standard, so you take all of that in a pot of savings, what the increase would have been and what the savings actually is. If somebody maxed out their insurance, so maxed out their total out of pocket, it would be pretty close to balanced. So like a person in the worst case scenario, it's kind of cost neutral for going from A to, Therese nodding her head, so I said that correctly. Going from A to standard would be that. Somebody staying in B, it is about a 10% increase. And then if you switch between plans, then, you know, it all changes because you're changing your benefits at that point. So we anticipate that there will be a lot of movement at open enrollment this year because of the change, the education behind the changes in the plan and everything else. But in the end, everybody will then filter into 3 specific plans. Right now we have, oh my goodness, 2 HMOs, a bronze, a D, 6, yeah. So we have 6 different plans, which makes it, sometimes you can have too many. It just makes it difficult to sort out all of the cost-benefit analysis. I think, you know, this first year will be a heavy lift because everybody's going to have to figure out where they go. But then after this, for current employees or onboarding new employees, the amount of work around insurance benefits gets a lot easier. It gets a lot easier to understand, and it gets a lot easier for the insurance committee to manage this moving forward. So for all of those reasons, we're recommending we're recommending the board adopt these changes tonight. Any questions?
I have a question, and apologize if I missed this, because is there any cost increase to the district?
Yes. So the cost increase to the district is very dependent on where everybody kind of flows to. So if somebody goes from A to B, there is a savings in premiums to the employee. There's also a savings in premium to the staff. Anybody that's in B that stays in B, there's a cost increase to employees, there's a cost increase to the board. Anybody that goes from A to the PPO with HSA, there's a premium savings for the employee, there's a premium savings for the board, right? So if somebody goes to HMO, it all kind of moves that way. We built in when we brought we anticipated this was coming when we built the budget this year based on the conversations we've been having for several years. We built into the budget, Jerry and Mark, built into the budget anticipated 10% increase in insurance costs overall. We believe that we will be within that projection when everything sorts out over this year. A reminder that any increases that are there really only half a year of those increases show up in this year's budget, right? Because the insurance year covers a calendar year, our fiscal year ends in June. So we would have time to, if we were outside of that, to adjust for this one half of the year, but then strategically adjust even more for next school year.
So we have been anticipated up to a 10% based on the fluctuations and what we think. And
Right, we think that is the worst case scenario for the board.
okay, okay.
That's similar to the increase for somebody staying in B. It's about a 10% increase.
If we didn't do this, would there have been an increase to the board?
Yes. Yes.
So the increase isn't because of the change.
No, there would have been, there would have been an increase there probably would have been a greater increase for the board because we would have been absorbing the increases of A and B, where in this case, the board gets a savings for people that move from A to B or A to the consumer-driven health plan, and only sees increases for those in the HMO or in B that remain there.
The committee that's representing it's representative of employee groups, insurance advisors, staff. So this is something that's been well vetted amongst our staff.
Right.
We're expecting, I would assume, a favorable response to this change for the most part.
I think anytime you make a change,
Okay.
you're going to have people that are concerned. So I don't know if favorable is fair, but I think we will work, I know we will work very hard to make sure that people understand what benefits are afforded them.
Well, there isn't anybody, I don't think, that doesn't feel the pain of health insurance costs going up every year. As a self-employed person, I pay more, I keep getting less, but I think hopefully we're doing a good job here to try to maximize the benefit while keeping costs.
The nice thing about the insurance committee is that the board has the insurance consultant there, Hub, acting on your behalf in the room, right? You have the administration trying to act on everybody's behalf.
Yeah.
And even if you looked at it selfishly from the employee groups, if they were only acting on their behalf, they have a seat at the table, but that's not the way that committee works. It's always historically, especially because we're a self-funded plan, has tried to balance, cost and benefits with one another and maintain a high level of coverage for the best possible price.
And I assume that this compares favorably with other districts in the area too.
Yes.
So keeps us competitive that way as well.
It does.
Very good.
All right, that is up for action this evening. Are there any other questions? All right. T99 update. As the board is aware, part of this year's budget is an expansion of T99. Just to give some history, this is the reason for the expansion. If you look back when I showed up in the district in 16-17, I think was my first year, we had 46 students in the district utilizing the resources of T99. Within the next couple of years, we're going to be pushing up close to 100, so more than doubling the student enrollment there. When I got here in 2016, it was tight with those 46 students there.
Yep.
As the board is aware, last year we expanded a little bit more in there, and now to keep up with it, we purchased the lot north of the current property, so you can see that above the little place marker there, it's the property up there in the top corner. We'll take control of that property in the spring and then demolish what's there, grade the property, and then expand the building and the parking. Our building footprint will expand kind of into the current parking lot. You're going to see this in a second here in an image, I think. And then parking moves into the lot next door. And as the board is aware, the Omega restaurant across the street for a long time
Years and years.
has allowed us to use their back half of their parking because we don't fit in the T99 parking lot. So this is, yeah, I thought I had an overview. So there's the overview of how the property changes with the dark buff, dark tan, I don't know what color that is the existing footprint. The lighter tan is then the new addition, and then you can see the parking lot where that falls in. With a larger bus drop-off and turnaround, right now, remember, a lot of students at T99 are coming in groups of 1 or 2 or 3, so we have a lot of drop-off and pickup there. We end up out on Vernard quite a bit. This will help us keep our traffic on our property.
So in the dark buff or whatever it is, what point about are we going to build out from? You know how we have, it's kind of like empty in the back?
Oh, I hit the wrong button. I don't have a pointer here, do I?
Just about, you know, just approximate.
So we already built out classroom 5 and 6.
Okay.
The washroom, storage, sensory, all in the
Okay.
back. That was all the
That's already
garage
built out.
before.
Yeah.
So that's what we did last summer.
Okay.
And then the front half from classroom 4 forward was the original build out.
Right.
And then we're adding all of the stuff up above it. So 2 more classrooms, another multi-purpose space. You can see a pantry, some toilet space, a couple of offices there as well.
Nice.
Now, if we would ever need to expand some more, can we?
You could build
expand in
back.
the back there?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Okay.
just like we did the
I'm
last
just-
time.
I'm just asking.
Well, what I'm wondering is, I mean, at what,
Yeah.
when do we reach, when do we max out?
With this,
Well, with,
at about 115.
okay.
This facility is about all you can do. And then you have to start looking at, you know, do you open up 2 differently need centers? And that's what happens in a lot of districts. You'll build another center for students with lower needs or greater need, depending on what the breakdown of your system and your community is. And then you start looking at another location.
There's no merit in building out more now.
Or at some point, are we sending more students to Sasset?
That's always an option as well, although this is the long-term, cost-effective option. Building this out over time, this will pay for itself.
Well, that was, for me, that was kind of the fringe benefit of the deal.
Mhm.
Number 1 was doing right by our students in our district, you know.
Well, this
providing
board's
them-
approach has been, for the whole time I've been here, is to keep kids in our community
That's right.
when we can.
And have control over that and have, you know, offer them the best services, the way that we know how to do that. But, yeah. So there'd be room to add on additional yet? In
the back if we needed to.
And then we'd be going back to Omega for parking again?
We should be okay for a while here, but yeah, I mean, at that point, I mean, you start to that's why I'm saying you start to reach a point where you've maxed out this plot of property. Either you're looking then for more adjacent property, or you're looking for a different location.
I think so the area behind in white, that's already paved proper, is that already paved back there?
But, yeah, behind.
That we would expand into?
Yeah, that's already paved.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about stormwater management and if whether as long as we're building, if we were to build on ground that's already covered. We don't have to do anything
Correct.
more in terms of stormwater management.
Correct.
All right. And then I know I'd mentioned this once before, but just between the addition and the dark buff that we're calling it, there's only the one access point.
Correct.
We don't ever foresee a need to have a second access point.
We think
further
based on
east.
programming and how the classes will be distributed, that this will be appropriate.
That there is, we're not going to have people needing to go.
No, because,
Classroom two
I mean, you
classroom
will
seven.
now and then, but each classroom at T99 or group of classrooms is of similar ability level and needs. So I would imagine that classroom 7, 8, and that multi-purpose would be somewhat of a similar programming needs, where when you move over, like right now, classroom 5 and 6, those are similar, students with similar needs that and abilities that are in those areas. Like classroom 2 has a group of students, 1 and 2 are more similar. So, they kind of get the different locations and home bases around the building, and the students and staff members that are working with that specific group tend to remain somewhat similar throughout the day.
So another way of thinking of this is as if the addition was, in a way, a standalone building unto
Correct.
itself.
Yep.
And we've created a convenient connection
Yep.
for when it needs to be there, so you don't have to walk outside, but that's kind of what we've done here.
That would be a good analogy, Mike. Yeah. Might be a faster way of saying what I just said. All right, and here is kind of the reveal of what it will look like.
Yep, it looks very nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't look as industrial
Yeah.
as it currently does.
Because it was an industrial building.
was.
Yeah, yeah, and they'll get a nice sign in front of the building, and we're gonna do a little bit of branding inside the building as well. They've adopted the mascot of the Centaur,
Right.
which is the combination of north and south, so, yeah, so there'll
Where do
be
we put
a
our
little bit.
straw bale gardening?
I
You
knew
could
that was
talk to the, you could talk to the staff there about that. I don't wanna dip into that at all.
As far as wayfinding goes, signage, if I'm coming to the building, how will I know which door to go to?
So you'll see that the turn-in that's there, and you see where I wish I had a pointer on this guy. You see in the pull-in, the 2 arrows there, where then it says sign?
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a new sign there that indicates the building. That's part of the challenge right now, is it's on the building, so when you're driving by, it's kind of hard to catch it. This, out on that island, should help us get it a little bit more. And then it'll be very clear with a canopy and an entrance there, that is
Yeah, I
the
think-
main entrance.
I think so people will always be coming to that main entrance. Would they then have to potentially go all the way through the building to then get into the original?
Yeah, a visitor or a guest, yes, because of security protocols, we want them coming through that main entrance. Student drop-off might vary where they come into the building based on where they need to
Door or
go.
the other door.
Which is very similar to our main buildings,
Sure.
right? At the morning, we have a lot of doors open, but then once school starts, we have one door that everybody comes through. It'd be similar at T99.
Well, one of the compliments I had in the design is the fact that I think visually are drawn to the one entrance, the new entrance. And that was an issue we had here at South for years, right? Which door do I go in?
Right.
So this I think accomplishes that fairly
Well, and one of the challenges we have now is if you look in the darker tan where it says vestibule by that entrance, we have no significant canopy over.
Yeah,
So when there's inclement weather, the students back up down that hallway waiting for their
Sure.
vehicle to arrive. Now with having a canopy on the outside, it'll make it a lot easier for staging. Part of the backup that we have now is if, you have a student in the front, a couple students in the front that have a wheelchair that are waiting for their vehicle, and it's the student in the back that theirs shows up first. You can see you get a traffic jam in the building and outside of the building. This should make it a lot easier for us to route traffic, both of people and of vehicles.
I know we've covered a lot of this before, but it seems like a good time to.
Kind of rehash it.
Well, yeah. It is a significant expense.
It is.
Yeah, but it's gonna be well worth it well worth it.
Right, and cost effective, like I said. If we would have been outplacing all of those students, you know, well, that gets expensive.
Yeah, it's been beneficial to this point, so this is, you know, this is a projection based on real experience, so.
Well, and real enrollment, because our students that are here in our MN program will likely matriculate to T99.
So, and it's not cost, building more now wouldn't be cost advantageous?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Well, and there's budget concerns with that.
Yeah, I know.
You
There's
know,
budget
we have to
concerns, and
balance,
it's also, you know, return on your investment. We show that the facility is growing to 115 in our current projections, but could that change? It could, and it's space that we could definitely lease out if we needed to someone like SACID or another school district. So I don't feel like it'll ever sit empty, but I wouldn't want to get so big that there wouldn't be that potential return on investment for the board.
Well, that back room, that back area that's all built out now, that originally we talked about.
Yes,
leasing it out to SACID or someplace else, and we've more than filled it, so, yeah.
we thought we were being pretty smart by having the expansion.
We
here.
did. It bought us another year.
We thought it was going to buy us more time than that, I have to tell you.
Well, the program grew fast.
I get success, so,
Word gets out how well we do.
so.
Okay,
All right.
nicely done.
Oh, we talked about this at a prior meeting, but there's the dollar amount. We talked about this as the board approved the budget, but I just want to make sure that slide was part of the package.
Yep.
All right, restructuring of district administration. This is in consent tonight. It's approval of board policies that match the job description, and under consent, you'll be asked to waive the first reading and adopt the policies. This is pretty typical for job descriptions, as
Yes.
the board is just adopting a job description. All right, so as the board is aware, we accepted a couple of years ago intents to retire for Mark Stalen, Rod Rousseau, and Jim Colleget will be next year. Between the three of those gentlemen, that's 75 years of experience leaving the district in one calendar year worth of time.
Institutional knowledge and experience.
It is a lot. Now, the board had the foresight of knowing that Mark was on the way, and we brought Jeree on board and promoted her into the position of chief school business official last summer. And she has been taking over more and more of the day-to-day operations of the business department, which is always a challenge because she is also the one that is managed in the business department. So a lot of times she's wearing both hats as she's preparing. As she's made this transition and then is preparing for the next piece, which will be posted, I think, this week, which will be the director of business services, which is the person that fills in back behind Jeree. So that posting will come out soon. And we've kind of talked about how that would go. But then as Rod and Jim are leaving, we're kind of restructuring a little bit. So we're kind of replacing Rod with the assistant superintendent for learning resources. This would be the instructional expert looking at how we use all of our physical resources across the district to support students in learning. Then our technical expert in the district for technology would be Colleen Daverin. She's already a member of the tech staff, has been a member in the district for over 25 years, and has extensive professional learning in preparing to move into this role. So we'll promote her to Chief Technology Officer. And then with the growing expansion at T99, we're not adding a person, but we're moving a person's location. So we're going to move Lisa Ballo over to T99 so that there's an administrator on site there. It's just getting to be a lot of administrative tasks over there. Carolina Schoenbeck has done a wonderful job of being the program manager there. She's fabulous. Actually, I would have asked her to be here tonight to talk about T99, except we have the options fair going on this evening, which she organizes and plans and is going on for students across the area, not just within our district. So she has been fabulous in that role, but her needs administratively are being split and taking away time from being the instructional leader in that building. So to provide her administrative support, we're going to house Lisa over there. We're going to need to shift around a few responsibilities along with, for the IEPs for the outplaced students that she manages. She doesn't manage the students, she manages their IEPs. So we're going to have to shift some tasks around, but that will then give us an administrator on site at T99. So really a net neutral number of positions here as a result, just a lot of shifting around. Any questions from board members on that? So you'll see some postings coming out soon.
Freedom of information.
We had them, we've responded to them, and they're up on the website. This is another thing administratively. Jill is sitting here in the front. Jill, Julie, Lauren, and I have all been going through our Freedom of Information Act training because this is a task that Mark Stalen has had over the years that we're preparing to take that responsibility over from the Communications and Superintendent Department. So, up on the website.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there any item on the consent agenda that any board member wishes to remove?
No.
Hearing none, we need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes the personnel report, transfer of position administration, transfer of position exempt, transfer of position classified, appointments classified, the personnel report, retirement certified, resignations classified, the financial pages, the appointment of the DCFS liaison, the educational tour, and waiver of first reading and approval of board policies 3.57, Assistant Superintendent for Learning Resources, 3.59, Director of Business Services, and 3.71, Chief Technology Officer.
So moved.
Second.
Terry and Joanna?
Thank you very much. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Consent agenda carries. We have one action item for approval. We need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the calendar year 2023 medical, dental, and vision plans and premiums as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Chris and Joanna.
Thank you. Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Carries. Then we have a motion for, we have some old business, a motion for the Board of Education to approve the policies and administrative regulations as presented and the deletion of policy 4.120.
So moved.
Mike?
Sherelle?
Sherelle?
Second.
It's Sherelle. No pressure.
Thank you.
Mike and Sherelle.
Mike and Sherelle.
Yes. Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye, motion carries. We'll move on to the second reception of visitors.
We've received no additional slips.
Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the communication and announcements. Report on LEND. Jen, anything?
Yeah, so we had our first meeting of the school year on Friday, September 23rd. As we hadn't really met since May, there was kind of a recap of what's been happening in Springfield. We were also in person for the first meeting of the year. They have, again, introduced a bill to expand the 120 paid days for retirees to sub through June 30th of 2023. They're discussing an amendment to the Illinois Constitution during the veto session, which clarifies what issues must be resolved through collective bargaining. On September 16th, Governor Pritzker extended the emergency order for an additional 30 days, which means the COVID administrative leave provisions remain in place. On the ISBE front, there was Dr. Stephen Asoye, I think, was appointed as the new chair of the ISBE. The ISBE is continuing to work on their equity project portfolio. including culturally responsive teaching and learning standards. They are reviewing recommendations from the Center of Assessments, looking at improved reporting, adaptive design, and end-of-year testing, and TIF reform. They're also looking at professional development training. This could include tying some professional development requirements to teacher licensure. For example, things like treating certain health conditions such as allergies, asthma, and diabetes. Dr. Thiele will continue to look at the LEND Policy and Mandates Committee and chair that, looking a lot at revisions for calculating graduation rates, what criteria is necessary to approve teaching dual credit classes. And our next meeting is October 28th.
A couple of committees I'm sitting on related to that. Next week I'm in Springfield for their ISB's Committee on Literacy. So I've been asked to represent DuPage County and LEND on that committee. And last week I served on College of DuPage Student Success Committee, which is looking at measures of success. But a component or discussion portion of that was dual credit and the relationship between College of DuPage and the local high schools, and how we can make sure that students are successful here and when a lot of our students go over to College of DuPage.
Terrific. Thank you. CSD, anything to report?
Our meeting's on Wednesday.
Okay. Foundation?
Yes, we just had a kind of a rundown of how the food truck rally or the block party went. We did end up in the black, so that was a good thing. Not by a whole lot, but we were in the black. So
And it was a great day.
I'll tell you, if you missed it, you missed a beautiful day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
It was a
stunning
great day.
out. And so it was very positive. We're going to probably make a few changes, but we anticipate doing something at North again in the fall, like next year.
Next year.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And then in the spring, we are still planning to do Pizza Wars. So we don't really have a date yet for that, but it's because of the school calendars, it's a little harder. So, but that we were planning to do at North or at
South.
I'm sorry, to kind of share the wealth between the two schools. And then just so the teachers know that the grants are due the first part of November. So if any teachers are listening, and want to do a grant, we do have funds available for that. And please turn those in to the foundation because, that's what we're there for, is to help our students and help our faculty, get the programs that they want to enrich our students. So, we started out with one of the very first smart boards, in the district. So, it's those kind of things that we want to promote and to make sure that our students reap the benefits of that. So that's my commercial for the day.
Thanks, Terry. Chris, anything on IASB?
None other than the convention in November, which
And division meeting is coming up too.
It's coming up too,
Yeah,
yeah.
the dinner. When is that?
The 2nd
Second?
of November.
2nd of November.
Let Julie know if you would like to
Yeah,
attend.
You're going?
Yeah.
She just did.
And Joanne? Okay.
Done.
And Chris?
Anybody else? And Chris?
Chris says yes.
All right.
Okay. Upcoming board meeting, is there anything else you have before we go into
No.
this? Okay, upcoming board meetings, November 7th, we'll have a workshop meeting here at 6:30, and then on the 21st, we'll have a regular business meeting also at 6:30 here. We will be moving into closed session. We will be coming out with a vote, but we will be moving into closed sessions for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the district, or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Terry and Mike.
Thank you. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Christopher Espinoza.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Jenny Hagstrom.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Thank you. We'll be moving into closed session.
All right, board will remain in here. A quick turnaround.